Mary lives in a condo high rise, having problems like a lot of high rises with balconies. And Brad, we're going to bring you in on this as well. She writes us with a problem for both Brad and Cora. The condo association offered three solutions to these problems with the balconies that were outside, right? Obviously, they're outside, but okay, I'm adding that. But none of them were cheap and could cost the homeowners or condo owners there more than $15,000 per balcony in an assessment, which is bad enough, but we're seeing this everywhere. And which means they ended up going with the cheaper option, the vote. So they took a vote in a condo meeting. They voted, and apparently Mary was not happy with this vote. It would essentially mean eliminating the balconies and basically putting something like a wrought iron fence, the way Mary describes it, that would be decorative in front of what was the sliding glass door, which will still remain, which would have gone out to a balcony, but now we'll have, Brad, they're called Juliet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Juliet.
Juliet balconies is what they're known as.
Yeah. Now, Mary is livid. She believes the value of the condos will go down because of this. I happen to actually agree that the value will go down because you're no longer having a balcony off of your condo, which is a big selling point for a lot of buyers who are looking for condos with balconies. And she enjoyed sitting out on her balcony. So she's asking a couple of things here. And we'll get to the first part of this in the second with Brad. What's going on with balconies, but more importantly, from a legal standpoint, Cora, is there anything that she can do to reverse or change the votes or the vote that had taken place this past week?
Well, first of all, Mary, that's a great question. And I tend to concur with both you and Bob. And then I think that somewhat eliminates the beauty of that condo. I have a patio. I love it. And what we're experiencing today in this Derby City is perfect patio weather. So I completely understand what you're going through. But if the HOA, the condo association there, has properly exercised its authority under the restrictions and the bylaws in that voting process, in the notification process, then at this point, unfortunately, there's not much you can do. Now, when you think of a condominium, you think of the walls from the inside, okay, going in is everything that you own, but the walls outside and going out are going to be limited common elements, and that's going to be a part of that condo association, and they're required to maintain that. So if, in fact, everything was properly exercised, I think that ship has sailed in regards to your opportunity in speaking your mind and perhaps persuading your neighbors and everyone else that could have voting power, while you believe that this devalues the property and that the proper method should have been to maintain it by doing maybe that $15,000 option
or more. It might have cost, the 15 might have been the Juliet balcony, and it might be
could
higher,
have been more.
in the
Absolutely.
20s, mid-20s. Yeah.
You know, these assessments, they're real. I think that's just part of living in those types of communities and maintaining all of those limited common areas throughout the building, or in this case, on the balcony. And I know it's never fun. It's an unexpected expense. But again, if it helps you with the marketability of your property, which Bob, you just spoke to, and essentially even increase the dollars that you can sell your property for, really, I think it's very short-sighted of someone to think of that and not see the long-term gain, that long-term benefit, a potential return on investment by getting the nicer quality. So you hear the old adage, you get what you pay for. And that may have been, in this case, what happened. So again, just to summarize, so long as everything was properly exercised in accordance with those bylaws and restrictions and what was recorded, then that ship may have sailed. So instead, don't wait. Your voice is one that should be heard, and we should have been a part of those meetings, making sure that everything was done properly so that people are making informed decisions, because a lot of times some of those residents may just have been looking at that bottom line dollar and not, again, that long-term picture. All
right. So I'm going to pick up on that with you, Brad, in a second. But Cora, I heard some key words here, and I want to just follow this up. Is it possible that the group of people over this condo association who are against the Juliet balconies, can they form their own ad hoc committee and maybe come over and hire you to review the bylaws to make sure that the bylaws were followed to the letter of the law, because otherwise the vote doesn't count? Am I right in what I'm hearing you say?
Absolutely. We'd be more than happy to have an appointment with them to pull those restrictions, to take notes of exactly what's taken place and the notifications that they've received to make sure that those were properly exercised. And if not, what we can do to help them overturn that decision.
So is this costly? Because I'm sure they're already facing this enormous value that's going to come out of their pockets. So for all of people of Louisville and Southern Indiana and the rest of the country, because Brad's going to speak to that. So is this a costly endeavor for a condo group that comes together?
So in that particular fact pattern, it's possible that it could be. It just depends on the fight, right? It depends on the longevity of that and how many attorney hours are going to be involved with that action. And if it's a court action, how long that court process may take. But what I will tell you is that here at Pitt and Frank, we will sit down and have a free 30-minute appointment. So we're not going to charge just to bring you into the office to hear some of your struggles and frustrations, to look at the evidence that you have, and to maybe provide some suggested course of actions, and then let you know what that may cost you.
Good. All right. Now let's move it over to Brad, because folks, this is not a one-off problem. This is a serious problem. Brad, am I correct in saying around the country and maybe even the world because of the way balconies were built?
Yeah, I think anytime you're dealing with a structure that is attached to or hanging off or cantilevered off of a building, it's something that has to be reviewed regularly. The problem is that maintenance on these structures has been not to the level that it should have been over the years, which is what some of the problems that we've seen with some of the condominiums, particularly in ocean areas where they're attacked by, this salt in the air that blows around. But even here, closer to home, a lot of these, when you see metal that is exposed to the air that rusts, that oxidizes, that breaks down, and there's no attention that's paid to it, over time, the structural integrity of it is going to disappear. The same holds true of even decks. A lot of people think, well, it's just wood, it's nothing to worry about. There are not very many people building decks in this area that know what they're doing. I'm just, for someone who's inspecting thousands of homes every year, we see a lot of problems with even, deck building. One thing I'll mention, Bob, with this condo association, and this is just a good best practice. My concern anytime I start hearing of, situations like these balconies is it just one engineer's opinion? Is it just one company's opinion? Just like, if you're going to have a big, an HVAC replaced in your home, don't just take the word of one person walking through the door that you need to get a second opinion. So I don't know if this HOA was able to engage with another structural engineer out there to figure out what the actual cost is and what the deficiencies were. But I will, say that not all engineers are created alike. They don't all have the same experience. And sometimes, a second opinion will actually, uncover some things that maybe the first engineer didn't catch. So just if you're these big decisions like this, hopefully they've got multiple people involved in, getting information from and so that they can better understand, what the possible solutions are.
So,
and Bob,
yes, go ahead, Cora.
I was going to say one of the things that we didn't touch on that I think is important is liability. So have we then potentially, by doing the Juliet type of railings, eliminated the opportunity for people to go out on the balconies, for the balconies to fail and, God forbid, even fall and be injured from those balconies? But we've reduced that liability, not only for the unit owner or any invitees that they may have on the property, but also, the exposure for the HOA. That in turn, I would think, I'm not an insurance agent, but might reduce some of the insurance costs. So maybe, just playing devil's advocate, the not only the saving on the monetary cost of the repair to that balcony, but you could be looking at some other reduction in liability, if that makes her feel any better about losing her gorgeous balcony.
Yeah, I got a feeling it won't. But let's just say real quickly, we'll wrap this up. Brad's right. Another structural engineer comes in, says, no, this is not even needed. You need to do this. Is it too late? Has the horse left the gate, to use an analogy that would be timely here? Is it left the gate at this point? Is there any going back and changing the vote?
Was that to me?
That was to you. Yeah.
Oh, to
legally,
me. Oh,
is there any way going back? Yeah.
Sure. It just depends if it was properly exercised under the authority that they had. So without reviewing those legal documents, we can't confirm.